of 6 o'clock, and I'd like to call this January 5th, 2026 Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. At this time, I do recognize we have a quorum. At this time, will Commissioner Thomas lead us in our invocation, and Commissioner Wilburn, Vice Chairwoman Wilburn, will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Our most kind and dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight grateful for this opportunity to come into a free country, God. God, we want to thank you for watching over our men and women overseas that are fighting for our freedom, God. Just watch over them. Take care of them as only you can. God, be with our local heroes, our first responders that answer the call in the middle of the night when someone is in need, God. We thank you for them. We ask you just to be with each and every one of them and watch over them as only you can. God, we thank you for giving your Son to die on the cross so we may have eternal life. We ask you just to go with us, guide us, lead us, save us, and just watch over us. In your heavenly name I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise if you're able and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Members of the board, you have the agenda before you. I would like to make the following adjustment. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the following: Human Services Advisory Committee Bylaws Amendment to be added as item 10C, therefore making item 10C now item 10D, and closed session 1 per General Statute 143-318.11A3 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege. Are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add a closed session for personnel to include the county manager and the county attorney.
And also, Mr. Chairman, on the attorney-client matter, it will include discussion of the litigation known as Hot Rock Haulers versus Person County.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any other adjustments to the agenda? Having heard none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The agenda's been approved. Item 5A, resolution honoring former Mayor Marilyn Newell. Madam Mayor, would you please come to the podium, please? Resolution of appreciation. Whereas Marilyn P. Newell served the people of Person County as the longest-serving mayor of the city of Roxborough, Person County's only municipality and the county seat that provides public infrastructure and contributes to the quality of life for all citizens with a tenure of 14 years as mayor. Whereas Marilyn P. Newell worked diligently to establish a interlocal agreement between Caswell County, Person County, City of Yanceyville, and the City of Roxborough for an additional regional water supply from the Dan River. And whereas Marilyn P. Newell furthered Person County's livability through her work and to make the City of Roxborough a Main Street community. Whereas Marilyn P. Newell contributed to major milestones in Person County's economic development efforts through her service on the Economic Development Commission, including the recruitment of Hollywood and the development of the Person County Megapark. And whereas Marilyn P. Newell has earned the respect and admiration of those who have known her and worked with her throughout her time in office. Now, therefore, I, Kyle Puryear, Chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby extend this resolution of appreciation to Marilyn P. Newell for her commitment and dedication, and for continually striving to make Roxborough and Person County better places to live and work. Members of the board, do I have a motion to adopt said resolution?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Now adopted this day, 5th day of January 2026. Signed, Kyle Puryear, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners. Madam Mayor, on behalf of Person County government and all the commissioners that you have worked for in the past, I want to thank you for your commitment to excellence. It has been an honor to work with you personally over this past 20 years, whether it was through on the council as mayor. You always put your constituents first, and I know it's always a tough job in public office, but I wish you the very best, truly the very best, in this next chapter of your life. And thank you again for your service.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. It's been a pleasure to work with each and every one of you, all of you others who are also part of this process. Yes, it's been a long list of commissioners that have come and gone in my time, but just know that seeing how we work together and make things happen together has just been a joy, a labor of love in every way. I thank you for this. It's quite generous, and I appreciate you all so much. I'd like to offer my hand to each, if I may.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Item 5B, presentation of museum history. Vice Chair Wilburn.
Thank you. If I could ask Carrie Curry to come to the podium, please. I had the opportunity in my professional capacity to represent one of our former local industries, GKN Automotive, in the disposition of their manufacturing facility. And on one of our last tours, I noticed that there was still a groundbreaking shovel and one of the initial renderings hanging on one of the office walls. And so I had weekly calls with corporate, and on my next call, I said, I noticed this is still in the building, and this company has meant a lot to our community in Person County. I personally have family members who have gone all the way through 30 years and retired from here, and friends, and if this is just going to, be disposed of, then I think that would be a terrible shame, and I would love to ask your permission to have it. And they said, we haven't thought about that perspective about the community, and we would love for that to go wherever it can be the most benefit to the community. So I reached out to Carrie Curry, the curator of Person County Museum of History, and we couldn't have scripted a better name for the curator. But and Carrie said, this is perfect timing because we are redoing some exhibits in the museum, and we are going to have one for existing industry. So she wanted it right away, and I said, I would love to be able to share this at an EDC meeting, because we have some of our EDC commission members who were around when GKN was recruited here to Person County. But due to the holidays, the EDC did not meet in December, and you need to get your exhibit going before they meet again. So wanted to take the opportunity to make this public presentation here this evening. Carrie already has the conceptual rendering that's framed, because the county already has one of those hanging in the EDC office. So at this time, I would like to present this original groundbreaking shovel that documents dates in May and January of 1993, and then the expansion that they did on July 24th of 2012. Thank you. And if you would like to share anything about that exhibit.
Quite heavy. Just put that right there. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to be here. We too at the museum have such a fabulous relationship with the county and with the city of Roxborough, so it was great to be able to be here and see Mayor Newell be honored for all of her work. The timing was amazing. Thank you so much for being thoughtful about this and making sure that items like this do remain with the museum and with our county history. We are excited to roll out this new exhibit here in 2026. We're going to be looking at a lot of our industry and how that really impacted the county, the people, and the future. So the timing truly could not have been better. And we just remain very grateful for the partnership with the county. And I did want to take the opportunity to make sure everyone is aware that the museum will be hosting a Smithsonian exhibit from January 21st through February 21st. We received a grant. We are the last of 6 places in the state of North Carolina to receive this exhibit. It's called Spark Places of Innovation, and it looks at how rural communities like Roxborough and Person County, innovate to solve problems and address challenges. And there will be a companion exhibit that's going to look at how Roxborough specifically does that and how Person County specifically does that. So I hope you will all have an opportunity to see that, as well as this new exhibit. I will keep you posted when you can come and see this shovel installed at the museum. And February 5th, there will be a business after hours if an evening time is a better time to come see that exhibit. And I just thank you for your continued support of the museum. We are so excited about the work we're able to do, and it's because of support from our local community. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 6A, request from Piedmont Electric Membership Corporation to approve a special use permit to allow the expansion of an existing substation on a 8.25 acres at 1037 Bowen Road. Planning Director. And I believe the county attorney has some comments to make before you begin, Mr. Director.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll keep these brief. But this is really for the audience as much as for the board, because what you're about to do is a quasi-judicial hearing, which differs in significant ways from a legislative hearing. When I say legislative, think text amendment or a map rezoning. For quasi-judicial hearing, that is where someone's coming forward, and our ordinance requires a special use permit for that use to be allowed, and it is like a court hearing. So rather than there having been discussions beforehand and people's minds made up, the board is tasked with hearing the evidence that's presented tonight, or that is in your agenda packet. And then you have to decide if, based on that evidence, that there's what we call competent, substantial, and material evidence in the record to support granting the permit. Now, your planning staff has done a great job of laying out the requirements that are in our ordinance, and I'll leave that to Mr. Trivedi to go through in his presentation. But just be mindful that you do have those standards. The other thing that's important is that if you wish to speak tonight, the applicant gets up, it's their burden of proof. They have to meet what we call a prima facie burden, meaning they have to show they have enough evidence to be entitled to it. And if you are a citizen who is concerned about it or in favor of it, you may speak, but you need to keep your comments relevant to the situation. And also understand there are some things which only an expert can talk about. So if we call you out about that, it's not that we're trying to censor input, but quasi-judicial hearing just has different rules than a legislative hearing. So I'm happy to answer any questions from the board at this time. The other thing, Mr. Chairman, and I believe this is on, if it's not on here, you should always check for conflicts of interest. I'm happy to lead the board through that if you'd like.
At this time, is there any conflicts of interest from any board members?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. And then lastly, all witness testimony should be sworn.
Yes. All right. At this time, do I have a motion to open the quasi-judicial hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing. Madam Clerk, will you administer swearing in for testimony?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I can have Mr. Jennings up front with Mr. Trivedi, the applicant and property owner, or any of those that are going to be speaking tonight, including Mr. Tilley. You guys ready? All right. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for introducing me, Planning Director for Person County. Jay Jennings, our planner, has been working very diligently on this with the client and the applicant and the attorney. I will pass it on to him to give the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioners. As was stated, we begin this public hearing to look at the request for an expansion of an existing substation, Piedmont Electric Membership Corporation on Bowen Road. The subject property is 8 1/4 acres, 1037 Bowen Road. The future land use designation for this area is rural. The current zoning is R for residential. The request is the expansion to the existing substation. The applicant has followed the planning ordinance criteria for the special use application and site plan. We have the applications for zoning, special use application, and the stormwater application as we're in the Falls watershed. Along with the site plan, there is a site plan for the development and also a plan set for erosion control and stormwater. In addition to that, they have provided a stormwater impact analysis that supports all the documentation in the applications. And here you'll see the subject property highlighted in yellow. This is our county GIS map. The western side of the property is Bowen Road, and the gray rectangle that you can see there is the existing electric substation. On our future land use map, the green area indicates the future growth area of rural designation, and our subject property and all surrounding areas are indicated as the same in that rural growth area. And here we have the zoning map. No, we don't. I'll get the hang of this in a minute. I apologize. Okay, here we have the zoning map. Our highlighted property along with all surrounding properties are indicated in the residential zoning district, as I had mentioned just a moment ago. The comprehensive plan section 4 indicates some guiding principles for growth, and the following guiding principle supports the application most closely. Excuse me. Guiding principle number 2 is facilitating sustainable economic growth, and guiding principle 2.7 is to provide utility infrastructure and support economic growth. The applicant has designed a small footprint of expansion that includes natural buffers to the neighboring properties, provides for erosion sediment control of the project area, and provides for compliance with the Falls stormwater rules by using the stormwater rules for peak flow and nutrient export by using low impact design and the use of a stormwater SCM, a stormwater control measure of pervious pavement. And here is the information page of the site plan set that was submitted. And this is the site plan. The area indicated as the kind of center blue square shape is the existing substation, mainly the gravel area with the electric equipment there. Also, there is an existing access drive off Bowen Road into the site. Along the northern boundary and southern boundaries of the property, there is a black crosshatch area that are the 20-foot natural buffers that the applicant has indicated to remain in the natural state as a buffer to the adjoining properties north and south. The expansion area is the smaller green box to the east of the existing station, and that is approximately 150 by 150 for the expansion area. And if we look back to Bowen Road, there is a new access drive that will branch off the existing drive into the site. That is the area that will ultimately be the pervious pavement, the stormwater SCM, and at the end of the project there will be a stormwater easement created and be granted to the county for inspection, maintenance, and those required items. Okay, the site plan that was provided by the applicant follows section 155-2 of the planning ordinance. Site plan shows no clearing or disturbance within 20 feet of the adjoining property lines as indicated by the buffer areas that I just mentioned. The only exception would be if it's necessary for that new driveway to encroach into a cleared area. Most of that driveway is under an existing power line right of way that serves the substation. The ordinance does not specify any planting required for the buffer, just that there be an undisturbed buffer. So for the majority of what you see, they're indicated are currently wooded areas that will remain so. And this was the application submitted with the special use request. All right, and here, under the findings of fact, number one, that it will not materially endanger public health or safety. The applicants have indicated that there will be a chain link security fence around the facility. There'll be locked gates with security cameras. There'll be signage on the fence warning of the danger of high voltage and warning the readers to keep out. Number two, that the use meets required conditions and specifications. The applicant states that that they are meeting those by what we have just read, answer to number one, and that the expansion has also been designed to meet both the NESC and OSHA codes and standards. NESC is National Electric Safety Code. Thank you. That the use will not substantially injure the value of adjoining or abutting property, and that it's a public necessity. The proposed expansion is stated as the applicant as a public necessity. The upgraded POD substation will serve a new 230 kilovolt transmission line. Substation will be adequately buffered, and traffic to and from the substation will continue to be minimal. As such, the value of adjoining properties shall not be substantially injured. The location and character of the use, if developed according to the plan as submitted and approved, be in harmony with the area. The proposed amendment is for the extension of an existing substation to supply power for that new transmission line. The expansion will provide additional capacity for future growth in the area and improve overall electric reliability of the Piedmont electric system, serving as an additional source. Based on the above, planning staff recommends that the Board of Commissioners approve the special use permit for this substation expansion. And you see here before you a motion, an example of wording for a motion to approve. There could be a motion with conditions or a motion to deny. And I'd also like to include, I skipped one slide, if I can get back to it. Yes. So we are recommending approval with the following condition: that the applicant owner shall obtain all required permits from the county prior to the operation. The applicant and owner develop the property and according to the plans that are submitted for erosion control, for Falls Lake, and that the owner provide a final as-built survey at the end of construction. And also, because there is a stormwater control measure, there will need to be an easement granted to the county to allow access for inspection of that facility And there will also need to be an operation and maintenance agreement and easement granted to the county, and we're asking those to be conditions of the, of this approval, and that those items be met before a final CO is granted for the project. And that is my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions or help in any way.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jennings by the board? Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And we do have, the applicant is with us, Booth and Associates, and representatives of the owners.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the speakers in favor?
They're the applicant and property owner, if they wish to come forward to speak, is welcome to at this time. If not, we have one in opposition, Mr. Tilley.
All right, being that the speakers in favor have declined to speak, we will now have the speaker in opposition.
Mr. Tilley?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Alex Tilley, and my property is located approximately 260 yards from the edge of the substation property. I became aware of this via a sign that was posted on the substation property last week. And this land is currently zoned rural residential, with my understanding for the application being that this is for residential development in lower density or rural settings per that zoning. Yet the only known use I am aware of is to supply power to the Moriah Energy Center, which does not align with this use. Rural future land use category promotes residential development. However, I'm unaware of any such development as a part of this application. My ask is that this application be reviewed in its entirety based upon the transmission lines that will result from this will start from this substation, and that the full impact of this project is reviewed in its entirety to understand by the commissioners and the constituents that they serve what its intended use and the impact to the area's environment and the impact to the properties, inclusive of the transmission lines, which were not a requirement per my understanding of the notices for this hearing. It was only within, I think it was like 500 feet of the property. However, the impact of approving this permit will be broader than that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. At this time, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, are they able to, is the applicant able to address any
Sure, if you wish to do
concerns
so.
that were brought up?
Good evening. I'm Jordan Irby, CEO at Piedmont Electric Membership. So we filled out the application based on the special use permit for the substation property. There is a transmission line that will be connected to the substation that does power other things in the area, but it's not part of the permit process, which is why it was not included.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion?
I'll
Or
make a
do you
motion
still-
to,
Do you have any further comments before we close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Any further discussion? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing. What is the desire of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I hereby move to approve the Piedmont Electric Membership Corporation request for expansion of the Bowen Road Substation, SUP 0425, and find it consistent with the adopted Person County and City of Roxborough Joint Comprehensive Land Use Plan, specifically guiding Principle 2, facilitating sustainable economic growth, and 2.7, provide utility infrastructure to support economic growth, and find that the approval of SUP 0425 supports the four findings of fact listed on the application. I would also like to amend the motion to include, or have the motion to include the conditions recommended by staff in the presentation.
We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of said motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's been approved. Item 7A, petition PB-11-25, Planning Board Rules and Procedure Amendment to streamline agenda preparations, remove duplication of plan and ordinance content, and clarify operational procedures such as voting, meeting conduct, and agenda management. Do I have a motion to go into the public hearing?
So
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing. Planning Director.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much for clarifying this item is to update the rules and procedures for the planning board to clarify their administration responsibilities, meetings, and notice requirements. In front of you is a table of contents that's requested the update and the changes. One thing to note during the public comment period is to remove 4D, which is already in the planning ordinance. Having it in the planning board rules and procedures and in the planning ordinance is redundant, causes complications. To leave it in the planning ordinance and remove it from the boards and procedures, rules, and agenda packets updates, conducting meetings, and the discussions is the changes. These are the track changes presented in front of you. To help clarify this, the planning board meetings would be 2 hours, ending at 9 o'clock. The agenda packet would be as highlighted in front of you. It includes the entire packet. These are the meetings will be conducted in a more organized manner, following the Roberts rules and procedures, as well as allowing public comment periods, allowing for items to be by your discretion, planning director, and the planning board discretion. The planning board, I think skip one slide. It has gone through an extensive public review period back in October when it was first published on the website. Planning board reviewed it in November. Went through a public hearing process in December. There was no members of the public during the meeting. We did record some of the comments that were collected during that period, ensuring some of the text updates and putting a date on the update. The planning board did, skip the slide again. The planning board did recommend this be approved. It requested that the people be allowed to register prior to the start of the meeting, just like in the planning board of commissioners. And this is also consistent in sample motions in front of you. Happy to answer any questions you have on this item.
Did the planning board initiate these changes, or how do these changes come?
These are carried over from what Margaret already prepared during the previous item. Said it was published, the original publication was in October.
Several things. I don't know if we want to do it in this portion or wait until we get into commissioner discussion.
Do you have any questions for the planning director that reflect your comments?
No, it's more about concerns.
You would like to leave the public hearing open to, in case those concerns need to be addressed?
No, I think it's really commissioner discussion.
Okay. All right. Any further questions at this time for the planning director? Having hearing none, Madam Clerk, do we have any in favor or against?
No, sir, we do not.
We do not. Do I have a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing. Vice Chair Whitman.
My concern about having these rules of procedure for the different boards is, I would like a uniform experience for citizens when they come to a public meeting of the county. There's several things in here that I think are already addressed by open meetings law that I would rather leave that way. And, I can just go through a few things under the rules of conduct 3B2. It says if a member fails to attend 3 consecutive meetings or a minimum of 70% of all meetings, the planning board can vote and to have the commissioners determine to have the seat vacated. I would prefer not to leave it up to the board. That could be an awkward thing for them to have to address. We already have a resolution in place about attendance at boards and committees, and I would prefer that the clerk to the, or, you know, staff liaison track the attendance, and if it falls out of line with what's already in place in that resolution, that they would contact that member and say you are in jeopardy of being removed from the board based on this resolution, and then pass it up through the proper channels to our attention, rather than leaving that, you know, responsibility on other planning board members to need to do that. And then it has in, under the rules of conduct, 3D, that members of the board may be removed by the Board of Commissioners for cause. I think they can also be removed without cause.
They can be removed, they work at the discretion of the board.
I think that's confusing and may cause some issues. Meetings, it says that they, under 4A, and then like the numbering is off here in the structure. It goes from a Roman numeral to an Arabic numeral, and then the 2 and the 3 should be subsets of 1, but they're not. But having a set time for the meetings to end, I'm concerned that there could be applications that wouldn't be heard, or that they would get pushed back a whole month. If there was a strict adherence to this, they don't start until 7, and I know it's included in here that your agenda would have applications at the front and other administrative things towards the end. But I think, you know, it's sort of up to the discretion of the chair to move the meeting along based on what's in the agenda. And I don't know that it's good to have that strict end time in there, since it's gonna be up to their discretion whether they choose to hear what else is on the agenda at that point or not. So items, what is listed here is 1, 2, and 3. I have a concern about delaying applications based on that. And 4B and C are related to special meetings and cancellation of meetings. If we approve this, I would rather see those just to state that they'll be in accordance with open meetings law and provide that general statute. I did have a question about why the packets are mailed to the members, but,
That was at the request of the planning board members. It was delivered, not mailed, delivered.
and then for adoption and amendment, it says these rules within the limits allowed by law may be amended at the request of the planning director, planning board, or board of commissioners by a simple majority vote with amendments in writing. So if this is coming to us for initial approval, I assume it would always need to come to the Board of Commissioners to be amended, unless, you know, I mean, I think ideally, we would wanna know if it's amended.
That was the clarification at the planning board, that they make recommendations to the changes. Y'all, as the board, are the ones that are only want to make approvals of any changes.
Yeah, and just to clarify that, in some local government jurisdictions, I've seen appointed boards adopt their own rules of procedure, but as Mr. Chairman suggested, they work at your pleasure, and so you always have the authority to amend or adopt or rescind rules of procedure for your appointed boards.
So my concern is if it's made at the planning board meeting, you know, the commissioners may not be aware if it's done, and according to this, it can be done by the planning director.
That was what I clarified at the meetings, that we would discuss, they would make, the board and I would make a recommendation, they would go to you, just like this item would go to you for those, any approvals. Any changes would not occur without your approval. I may need to rephrase that
Yeah, I think that,
statute.
I don't think that's clear in there, but, if we do adopt, the rules of procedure, there's one that I would like to see added, and even if we do or we don't, I think that once something comes to the planning board once, it should then move on to the Board of Commissioners. Specifically, at the last planning board meeting, there was an item that they voted on and it did not pass. They've already voted on it, but it still did not come to us tonight. And so I think, to keep things moving through, to make sure that staff time is not wasted during a meeting or, conducting research on things that this board, is gonna have the final say on anyway. And even the planning board always says that the buck stops with the commissioners, so, in light of that, I would always prefer to see, once something has been presented to the planning board, they have that opportunity, and then it moves on.
Yes.
Well, that has been done in the recent past, when they voted no on something, it did come to us, but that's changed apparently.
Was
I
that,
mean, in the recent past, they've had things that they voted no, they recommended not to pass, and it came to us, and,
right, however
but
they
it
vote, I
changed
think,
this time.
it comes to us
yeah,
from there.
I agree, that's what I'm saying, it's changed, just here recently, it was like that way before.
Right, and if it's brought to them and they have adequate, I think they should vote on it. If they don't, the way they've done it sometimes has been, we are missing one map, so we vote to approve it contingent upon this map being presented when it's brought to the commissioners, and that is how things can keep moving. So that's what I like to see, but, that's my recommendation, to add that or to keep that in mind as a practice if the board decides that we don't need this.
Mr. Chairman, I have a concern at a recent meeting that we had with some changes on the planning board documents. I made a motion and it passed that anywhere in the planning board documents where it stated that a site plan shall be prepared by a professional surveyor, engineer, architect, that we change the wording to may, where we aren't requiring them to spend that extra money. So we're looking out for the taxpayer of Person County. I am not in favor of any of these changes because it's in there again. A site on 157-2, number 2, says a site plan prepared by a North Carolina professional surveyor, engineer, architect. And at a recent meeting, we instructed not to do that, to have may put in there. So I'm not in favor of any of this.
Is that a motion to deny?
Yes.
Wait, we have a motion to deny. Any further comments?
May I ask a question?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
clarification? I think going back to the comment you just made, Commissioner Long, in that previous meeting, my understanding was you were referring to that particular section of the ordinance and the requirement. So I don't recall your motion pertaining to the entire planning ordinance where those particular provisions were cited. So is that something that we need to go back and look at?
Well,
And-
I thought Commissioner Long, the way I interpreted it, it was just complete oversight in what he was referring to make things more simpler and more convenient for the applicant. And that was my interpretation of what he said, but, it sounds like there was, it wasn't communicated.
The
strong enough.
157-2, the specific section where the ordinance was discussed in the previous meeting, that was changed. It was in the last month's meeting where when you recommended approval for the text amendment for 157-2, that may was changed to shall. If it's an overhaul of the entire planning ordinance, that would be another text amendment I would have to bring before you.
It's supposed to be changed from shall to may.
That was changed for the 157-2 for the last month's text amendment that was presented last month. That specific section was changed.
Well, do I need to amend my motion, or we want to go ahead and deal with this motion and I'll make
That's
another?
a completely separate topic on that, so let's go ahead. The chair has entertained, the motion to deny. Any further discussion?
I'll just, add that this was a 6-0, so that means everybody on the planning board right now concurs with this, so I don't see why there would, you don't nearly need to put it in place if you concur. You got open meetings law to guide you. And you've got parliamentary procedure to guide you. You know, choose a chairman that upholds these things, and you don't need all this, in my opinion. So.
All right. All in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion has been denied. Well, the
Text amendment.
text amendment has been denied. All
The
right.
planning board rules and procedure, so leave it unchanged.
Leave it as it was.
Okay, do I need to make a motion now that every instance that comes up, it be changed?
I think there's an item in here that would be good. There's one in here that has that language.
Let's hold off on that one, Commissioner Long, until we get to that. All right, item 7B, petition TA-15-25, variance regulations update to simplify the variance process, eliminates redundant language, and clarifies the standards of review in accordance with NCGS 160D-705. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing.
This text amendment is a change to 157, the zoning variance. Streamline the review process, remove redundancy, clarify decision-making process, and to ensure that any decision made regarding variance is defensible.
Mr. Trivedi, if you'll tell Instruct IT just to say next slide, they can
Okay.
control it for you.
Yes. In front of you is the text, track changes for the text changes that are requested to ensure that there's an allowance with, in North Carolina General Statute 160D. Nothing really specific is being changed in terms of the regulations. This is mainly consolidation of them, like instead of 4 sections is 3, instead of 5 sections there's 4. This is more in the line so that this matches what the unit in C160D says about it. The use variance is not permitted through this process, but only dealing with physical changes and requests for physical variances. Next slide, please. Again, in front of you is the updated change. One thing that was requested to be changed is registered to professional. Ensure that setbacks are only for physical dimensions. And again, the consolidation of the previous statutes sections into, from instead of 5, there's only 4. No, instead of 6, there's only 4. It's mainly consolidated to be matched in line with 160D. Next slide, please. Again, this has also been through an extensive public review period process starting back in October 29, when it was published. Planning board reviewed it in November. Public hearing was done in December, and the only real public comment that we got was changing registered to professional. And next slide, please. That's it. That's all I had. I think I skipped a slide. Back one. I'm sorry. Previous one. There. The planning board recommends 6-0 to approve this, and in front of you is the sample motion to go with it.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I could, it's important that our variance standards align with state statutes. This is pretty common. Years ago, you had differing standards in different jurisdictions, but with 160D, there's essentially 4 standards plus no use variances, and so the proposed text amendment would align with that.
I have a question about the expiration if the building permit is not obtained within 6 months. Do you feel that's sufficient?
Yes. Because most permits have been issued pretty quickly.
Is there any reason why other approvals outside of the county may prohibit the applicant from being able to get
The next
to
text
that
amendment,
point?
the next text amendment would help clarify that so that they can be done faster. The next text amendment is for the 12-month period, waiting period and stuff. This would help clarify that.
So this is just to bring it in,
Within 160D.
in line with what's, okay.
Any other questions? All right. Do I have a motion to anyone in favor or against?
No, sir, we don't have anybody
Right.
signed up.
All right, do we have a motion to come out of the public hearing? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now at the public hearing. What is the desire of the board?
Hereby move to approve TA 1525 to simplify section 157's variance standards and find the document reasonable in the public's interest and consistent with the Person County and City of Roxborough Joint Comprehensive Land Use Plan because it clarifies the regulation language.
My one question is, who brought this up to be changed? Who identified this to be, needed to be changed?
This is a previous carryover for one of the lists that was, Margaret had done when she had prepared, organized.
My understanding of making the motion is necessary to bring it into compliance with
Yeah.
state statute. Is that right?
Yeah, just like what TC was mentioning earlier.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. We have a motion. Any further discussion? Having hearing none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved. Item 7C, petition TA-16-25, removal of reapplication waiting period to remove unnecessary administrative barriers, allowing applications to apply without delay when appropriate, promoting flexibility and equitable review. Do I have a motion to go into the public hearing? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Now in the public hearing.
And next slide, please. This text amendment is simply a quick text change to remove the 12-month waiting period to allow for staff to continue reviewing applications. Next slide, please. It's simply a text change in the paragraph in front of you is to add the context that whenever a member withdraws their application and wants to resubmit an updated one, and so that these applications be reconsidered when they meet the current statutes that show demonstration that things have changed, to remove that, so they don't have to wait 12 months to bring that application back, so that these can be reconsidered. These are the simple text changes to allow that flexibility. Next slide, please. This is also going through the same public review period. It started back in October. The planning board initially reviewed it in November, conducted a public hearing in December, and is in front of you for your consideration. Next slide, please. Planning board also recommended 6-0 in favor of approving this in line with the comprehensive plan, and sample motions in front of you.
Is this tied to a change in statute as well, or is this a staff recommendation?
If I may, it is tied to a change in statute. The legislature last session adopted a statute that says development regulation or unified development ordinance may not include waiting periods prohibiting a landowner or developer or applicant from refiling a denied or withdrawn application for zoning map amendment, text amendment, development application, or request for development approval. So we're just bringing our ordinance in alignment with state statute.
I was thinking so, and I would like to have that reflected,
Add a stipulation that this is with 160D.
yes.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, any favor or against?
No, sir.
All right, do I have a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We're now at the public hearing. What is the desire of the board?
I hereby move to approve TA-16-25 to simplify section 150-2 to remove waiting period for reapplications and find the document reasonable in the public's interest and consistent with the Person County and City of Roxborough Joint Comprehensive Land Use Plan because it clarifies the regulation language and including what North Carolina General Statute.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Having hearing none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The motion's been approved. Item 7D, petition TA-18-25, ordinance consolidation and reorganization to amendment consolidates Appendix A, Appendix B, Appendix C, and the subdivision regulations in the main body of the planning ordinance. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We're now in the public hearing.
Next slide, please. Thank you very much for this opportunity. This is simply a consolidation. This is no change in any of the rules, regulations, procedure statutes, or anything like that. This is simply moving 3 of the appendix in the planning orders into the main body of the document and taking a separate document, the subdivision regulations, and putting it into the main body of the planning ordinance document. Next slide, please. In front of you is a table of contents that would be updated to reflect this change. The Appendix A would now be Section 3, Appendix B would now be Section 4. The table of permitted uses would now be Section 10, and the table in front of you, the section numbers would be updated to reflect these changes. So there would no longer be these appendix, they would now be in the main body of the document. Next slide, please. The subdivision regulations is a separate document set aside. This simply takes that document and simply puts it into a simple section, Section 12 in the planning ordinance. None of the regulations or anything are being changed within it. This is simply aligning it into one main document, and the table of contents and the section numbers are being updated accordingly. Next slide, please. It has also gone through the same public review period initially published back in October. The planning board initially reviewed it in November, and public notices were issued for the public hearing in December. No members of the public were attended during the planning board public hearing. No comments were received during that time. Next slide, please. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The planning board did recommend it be approved 6-0, and a sample motion is in front of you. Happy to answer any questions, concerns you may have on this item.
Any questions from the board? Comments? Madam Clerk, any in favor or against?
No, sir, we do not.
Do I have a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. We're out of the public hearing. What is the desire of the board?
I hereby move to approve TA 1825 to consolidate the planning ordinance and find the document reasonable in the public's interest and consistent with the Person County and City of Roxborough Joint Comprehensive Land Use Plan because it clarifies the regulation language.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Motion's been approved. Item 8, informal comment period. Madam Clerk, how many do we have signed up?
Yes, sir, we have 2 individuals.
2 individuals. We normally have a 10-minute period, so we will split that in half, 5 minutes per speaker. I ask the speakers to address the board as a whole and not individual commissioners. Address the board directly, not the audience, and please be respectful of the time. There will be a timer, and after your time expired, I will notify you of the time, and please take your seat. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. So the first speaker we have is Jada Garnett. And if I can please instruct IT to please set the timer for 5 minutes.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jada Amore Garnett. I am 18 years old and I walk in this room as a survivor of Person County's foster care system. I walk in this room not only for me, but to call justice for Kamari and justice for every other child in Person County's custody going through abuse because there are others whose voices are being muted or ignored. I was raised in Person County's custody from age 5 to age 18 when I aged out August 5th, 2025. I aged out in a mental hospital because there was nowhere else for me to go. A hospital that kicked me out at 12 a.m. on my birthday with nothing. When my foster care social worker, Jennifer Hall Rogers, finally met up with me 2 weeks later, she gave me $100 and told me to figure it out. I was confused when I was stolen from my mother because we had love and our needs were met. The days leading up to me being taken consisted of secret meetings in small rooms at school. We was taken in bathrooms every other day, having to pull my pants down and underwear down, and being examined to the day a random lady came and picked us up and took us. Me, age 5, my sister Alora, age 6, my sister Imani, age 2, to our first foster home. I learned very quickly that no one was going to protect us. The first abuse we suffered was at the hands of a respite foster parent that also owned a local daycare. We would be restrained by her wrapping her legs around us and holding our jaw open while she poured medicine down our mouths. Not because we were sick, but because we were crying or sucking our thumb. or we did something to make her upset. We would get hit in our head with sticks, remotes. I will also witness her putting pills in our food. We hated going over there, but no one would listen, not even those whose job it was to protect us. Things got worse from there. I moved around to different homes, and then I was placed in a home when I was 8 years old with my sister Laura, who has Down syndrome. That foster parent was extremely abusive, and then again, no one listened to me. She would take my sister down to the basement, and I would then hear my sister screaming, "Stop, I want Jada." And it broke my heart because I felt there was nothing I could do. Sometimes I would witness my sister getting poked with needles, lights shining in her face, and they would hit her with umbrellas, canes, folding tables, or really anything they could get their hands on. The foster parent would physically try to fight me, fist and all, and I would get choked until I got lightheaded, or they would put their knee on my neck, or I'd be dragged by my hair until I had bald spots. It took one last time my foster parent taking me to a behavioral health center where the hospital was like, something needs to be done. They took me out the home but left my sister, and it broke my heart because I was her only protection. And I would tell everyone what was happening, and again, no one listened to me. By this time, I am 11 years old. After this home, they took me to a foster home where there was never an adult home, never no food, parent, or anything in the house. We had to figure out how we was going to feed ourselves, and that caused me, at age 13, to turn to the streets to eat and survive. I expressed to my social worker what was happening. All I was told was, "Well, Jada, there's nowhere we could take you." While at this home, I was kidnapped for a week and 4 days by a 25-year-old posing as a 17-year-old on Snapchat. Law enforcement found me, and you would think at this point they would remove me out this home. No, they took me back. After that, I ended up meeting a guy that sold me into sex trafficking. At this point, I was being reported missing, but during this time, I was being trafficked. I would be found and placed in hospitals, and there was times where I would even have to stay at Person County's DSS building, where I was given old TV dinners or whatever they would find in the kitchen. Imagine having to sit in a small room every day, sometimes with no TV, no interaction. I would even be antagonized by the program director, Tyler Terry, and at the time, supervisor Kim King, and others that worked at Person County DSS. I could keep going for days about the trauma I experienced at the hands of Person County. This agency should not be responsible for any children. The foster social worker who had my case, Jennifer Hall Rogers, should not have a job. I'm here today to speak up for the voiceless and to also request that the commissioners inquire with the department about the check that Jennifer received prior to me aging out of foster care for being a victim of sex trafficking. Jennifer has refused to give me these funds. Who here can help me? That's all. Thank you.
Next speaker we have is Amanda Wallace.
My name is Amanda Wallace. I'm the founder of Operation Stop CPS, and I'm not sure why I expected you guys to even acknowledge what you just heard, because it was a lot, and you just go to the next one. You spend more time talking about sidewalks and land than it is on the children that was supposed to be in your custody. But we're here. And so I want to take the time to continue to uplift Kimari Morgan, which is a child that died in the custody of Person County. And it says what happened to Kimari because for 7 months, his mother did not know what happened to him. Just that she got a call that she would never see her child again. And again, for 7 months, she had no answers. Until just recently, she was told that he was murdered in Person County custody by poisoning in a foster home that this county placed him in. If he was never stolen from his family, he would still be alive today. And we stand on that 100%. You are responsible for the death of this child. And I say you specifically because Person County Board of Commissioners took over social services. So you are responsible. But what are you doing about it? Kimari's mom is still fighting to get her other children back. So you guys can kill a child in your custody and still keep others. If Kimari would have died in his mother's custody, she would never be able to parent another child. But y'all just keep on going. Keep on taking kids. You recycle your Carlton Paler, the social services director, as if that does something. You want to change out leadership so people think you solved the problem. The problem is not solved. You want to arrest Letitia Lindsay, the foster parent that had Kimari, and think people are supposed to say justice served. Justice is not served until y'all are held responsible. Until Brian Hart back there is held responsible. The the supervisor for Kimari is in this building right now. I get you. All
Please
right.
don't address the audience.
Got you. So again, what are y'all gonna do? Because you might try to shift the narrative and say that this is an isolated incident, that something just went wrong in this situation. But as Jada just expressed from her lived experience, this has been happening for a long time. How many other children have died in your custody that we don't know their names? That their parents did not have the support to push, to get answers? Would y'all have said what really happened to Kimari if the community didn't keep asking questions? Were you just trying to wait for Brianna to be alone so that you didn't have to answer what happened, what truly happened to Kimari? I mean, that's my question. And again, I want to say again, Jada asked you, who is going to help her secure the resources that are owed to her? I called Person County. Jennifer Hull Rogers is still employed by you. So this person that has failed is still getting a check. It's still getting a check. So what you... Right, so like, what are y'all really gonna do? And I'm looking at my time, so I will, start to wrap up and say this. Kathy, I'm still waiting on my records. It's been over 6 months. Confused at why it's taking so long to get records requests. I don't think it's supposed to take 6 months. And so I just want to say publicly that I'm waiting for my records, and I hope that they come soon. And also that you guys just do better. That you do better. I don't have any hope that you will do better because you work for the government, and it is a financial incentive for you to continue to sell black children for profit. But I hope the community starts to wake up to what is happening here in Person County. Children are dying. Children are being sold here in this community. Oh, and that book, on this last 16 seconds, the book that you guys had when you got off the elevator, I see is missing now, the McGee Farms, that y'all had the price that y'all were selling children for, and Negroes here in Person County. Why in 2026 is that next to a welcome to Person County? Is it because y'all history is still the same today?
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 9, discussment, adjustment, and approval of consent agenda. Are there any adjustments to the consent agenda? Having a hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved. Item 10A, Chiefs Association's mid-year funding request. County Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. The next item on our agenda is to consider a request from the Chiefs Association. There is...
Excuse me, County Manager. I'd ask for, we're having a presentation. Ask for quiet. Thank you. Please continue.
The Chiefs Association has made a request for mid-year funding from the Fire and Rescue Tax District Fund. Over a course of several meetings, they have discussed this request that they wanted to submit to the Board of Commissioners. They have adopted a procedures document that is meant to guide their funding request. To note, at the end of fiscal year 20 5, which ended June 30th of 25, the fund balance in the Fire and Rescue Services District Tax Fund was approximately $1.8 million. And so that's an important number to keep in mind because the procedures that the Chiefs Association adopted, on which this funding request is based, guides the balance to remain at $1 million and not dip below $1 million. And again, these are procedures that they've developed that they hope will support this particular request. The fund balance is unaudited because due to the federal shutdown, we have had a delay in being able to complete our audit. We are still within the timeline required by the state, but that audit or the final figures have not yet been determined by our auditors. So we're going with the $1.8 million estimate. So each department has asked for $85,000 in an allocation, one-time allocation from the fund. So that makes the total request $765,000. So if the Board of Commissioners were to award this funding during this fiscal year, then we would estimate, and we don't know for sure what the fund balance will look like at the end of the current fiscal year, so as of June 30th of 26, but we would likely end the year around $1 million. That fund balance has grown over the last several years because the tax was raised in order to fund part-time personnel. And so as the departments have been ramping up their staffing, they have not expended that full personnel budget. So each year that has added to the fund balance is added less over time. So I do not anticipate that we'll see the fund balance grow at the rate it has in subsequent years. So I would encourage you to consider this most likely a one-time request that may not come before you for a number of years because it would likely take quite a while for that fund balance to accumulate again at the level it is. In the current fiscal year, the tax rate in the taxing district is set at 4 cents. That is 1 cent below what it was last year, so it did drop as a result of the reval. We did budget $92,000 in fund balance in the current fiscal year in order to keep the rate at 4 cents and fully fund the contracts with the departments and the personnel and other expenses within that fund. So again, if this request were approved, the fund balance would likely end around $1 million this year if expenditures and revenues remain on target with the current established budget. But you can see in your packet that each department has submitted a request and they've provided details for each of their requests. I did a summary table, so the purposes for the request do vary. Some are down payment on a truck, refurbishment of a truck, portable radios and turnout gear, purchase land to build a new fire station. So that's just a few of the requests. So they do vary in terms of their intended uses, but upon discussion amongst the chiefs at the association meetings, they did decide to move forward with a proposal where each department would receive an equal allocation of the $85,000 to meet different needs. So within your agenda packet, you do have the procedures document that they have signed off on that outlines when and how they would make a request to the Board of Commissioners to appropriate fund balance from this fund, and you have their detailed request in your packet. So again, this is not likely to be, you're not likely to find yourself in the situation with the fund balance being this high in the future. And as we discussed when we originally implemented the personnel funding and set the tax rate, increased the tax rate to 5 cents, we acknowledged that over time that personnel budget would likely grow and there would be a need to put more and more into that particular line item, and that over the course of several years upon implementation, fund balance would likely grow, and then it could be drawn down in future years to fund personnel without raising the tax rate. So this may limit some flexibility that you have in future budget decision-making to make this allocation. So to make sure that you're fully informed about the financial aspects of it and the why behind the request, the president of the Chiefs Association, Gabe Wyndham, is here. He may be able to answer any questions that you have, and we also have county staff here who may be able to answer questions.
Thank you. Do members of the board have any questions?
No, I just want to make a comment as I was reading over the request and the details, and it's something that I had not had a chance to really do was to visit some of the departments. I know Allensville, that's the area I grew up in, used to vote there, so I know that one, but looking at Mariah, and I grew up in that area as well. My grandfather farmed out in that area, and reading this, and I'll be honest, at one time I didn't even think anything. I always saw just the trucks. Really didn't see people. Now I understand why, because I remember that store across the street, or across the road, rather. And just reading through these things, and I thought about how we all know that if an emergency happens and we expect our volunteer fire departments to be in our communities and to be there, and what they are operating. I mean, they're volunteer, but they're the conditions that they are operating out of. And of course, I'm in favor of it. But I was just reading over this and just thinking about how they are committed to the community and dedicated to their work and what they're operating like out of their buildings. They asking for upgrades and everything. But I just wanted to say I really appreciate all that you all do. You saved a couple of family members' lives before they could get to the hospitals. But was just reading through this and looking at, they are doing this work, and this is like some of the conditions that they were in and working in, and still showed up when help was needed. So I appreciate everything that you all do for the community.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the Fire Chiefs Association president, would he like to come forward, he or she?
Commissioner Long, my name is Gabe Wyndham. I'm the president of the Chiefs Association, also the chief at Allenville Fire Department.
Do you have any comments you want to share with us? Or?
Well, I think all our letters kind of speak for themselves. The proposals that we put forward is, everything's going up. I mean, our insurance for this year went up over 6%. I've got one vendor on the truck just saying next week they're getting a 6% increase on equipment. So everything's just constantly rising. And if we wait and try to keep saving money on what we're getting, the stuff's not getting any cheaper.
I like how this was presented to where there are the signatures of each of the fire departments. So we know that this was discussed and everybody is on the same page and everybody understands this part of it, the request part. I want to make sure that everybody understands the part that the manager just said about if you go ahead and kind of withdraw these funds now down to that minimum, that could present a challenge if you have increase in personnel costs, if this board is not in a position to be able to raise that fire tax to compensate for that.
Well, I think as it's progressed, it's been a slow progression to use up those funds for the personnel. And I think it's still going to be a slow process as we build. So I think there's still going to be some fund balance that comes from that. And we have discussed that and all agree that if a department has a larger need and there's money available, that we could, that money could be allocated as such.
Okay, that's the part I want to make sure everybody also was on the same page about.
Any further comments? What is it out of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the mid-year funding balance request for $765,000.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, the motion's been approved. Thank you so much.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you. All right, item 10B, Economic Development Organizational Structure, County Manager.
The board did request that I come back with a report on what it would look like to update the organizational structure for the Economic Development Department to where the economic development function is carried out by the Economic Development Commission. So many years ago, the Board of Commissioners did establish the EDC by resolution as a public authority. It has not been funded as such. It has been operating as an advisory board to the commissioners. But if you were to decide to allocate funding to the EDC to carry out economic development initiatives for the county, then you may do so, and the EDC may hire its own staff as a public authority. They would be public employees. There's a process that would have to go through with the local governmental employee retirement system in order to get them approved to be members, and it's quite an extensive process. We could offer county benefits. There's a variety of different things that would need to happen over a period of time to set up this particular entity to be able to employ its own employees and carry out this function. I did quite a bit of research into what this looks like in other organizations. That research continues to affirm that throughout the state of North Carolina, there is just a wide variety of different ways to approach economic development, whether that be through a county department, through a public authority, through a nonprofit, or through a combination of the three. So I did some research into three in particular because they are members of the retirement system, and there's only 3 EDCs that are actually members of the retirement system. So Wilson County has a long-standing arrangement where the Wilson EDC partners with a nonprofit to carry out economic development. Within Union County, there was a short period of time where Union County and the city of Monroe joined together to have an EDC. That was for 2.5 years to run their economic development programs, and they have since gone to having a county department and a city department to carry out those functions. So there were some implications about dissolving that, some financial aspects of dissolving the EDC. Gaston County, I did provide a copy of their bylaws as an example, but have not had the opportunity to speak to their staff as far as how their setup is operating, but it appears in my research that the Economic Development Director is employed by the EDC, and the other employees of Economic Development are county employees. So again, this just underscores how wide a variety there are of organizational structures. And I included the bylaws as some examples to consider if you were to move in this direction. One of the attachments that I included is really list quite a few things that need to be considered before making change. So I think it would be important to clearly define the purpose and the scope of the Economic Development Commission's new and ongoing responsibilities, clarify the Board of Commissioners' roles in supervising the EDC and its activities, identify desired partnerships and roles, determine whether the current structure would meet the needs of the new responsibilities of operating as a public authority, identify the funding mechanisms. So for example, with Wilson County, it's funded half by the county, half by the city. Determine employee reporting relationships and whether county personnel policies would apply, determine how benefits would be provided, and we would also need to relook at the Economic Development Partnership Agreement between Person County and the City of Roxborough. So those are some of the steps in the process that I've outlined for your consideration. I think the timeline for doing this would best align with the budget process, so that if you were to move in this direction, we could plan for this over the course of the next several months with a July 1st effective date. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have, based on the research that I've conducted so far.
Questions for the county manager? Any feedback?
Well, Wilson's kind of a unicorn. They've got two developers there that have both been there more than 30 years. And as you said, they also partner with a private nonprofit. And so similar to the structure we had before. So there's a lot that goes into, some people say if you've been to one county, you've been to one county. And it's very much that way with economic development, and it's, what can your community support? And it's very involved because we also have to figure out where PCBIC fits back into this, in my opinion. I had the question about how long does it take to go through the Elders process, and you said that's gonna be.
And I have some more specifics on that. I talked with them today about that and got more details. It took a while just to be able to talk to a person, so it's quite a complicated system to navigate. So they would consider a request at the April 30th Board of Trustees meeting for a July 1st effective date. That's the earliest that a transition for a new entity into the retirement system could take place. They will consider these requests quarterly, but they prefer to consider them in April because it's a lighter agenda. But as far as actually making that request, there is a lot of financial detail that goes into it, and it will be based on county information because this is a new entity that has not been funded previously. One thing that is required is a surety that must be set aside that is the equivalent, they will calculate it based on a formula, but it's the equivalent of 1 to 2 years worth of salary for the employees. So that has to be held as a way to pay any unfunded liability to the retirement system. If the EDC were to withdraw from the retirement system or otherwise not be able to meet its obligations to fully fund. Another part of that process is that the employees of the EDC actually vote on whether or not to become members of the retirement system, and a majority has to vote in favor of becoming members of the retirement system, and then the EDC board would approve that application, like pass a resolution to go before the retirement system. So there are definite financial obligations associated with this above and beyond how the county is currently funding economic development. So setting aside that surety or that reserve of 1 to 2 years salary is one of those, as well as other types of administrative expenses that would be duplicated if the county were funding this authority to carry out economic development, that they would need to hire their own auditor, they would need to have a finance officer, they would have to follow the local government fiscal control act. So there are many provisions that would apply to them, where additional resources would have to be secured above and beyond what the county is already putting into the function now.
When I think about structuring like an authority, I think about the TDA, and they have their designated funding, from the occupancy tax, and that's one thing I would like to see for the EDC is similar to what the fire departments have had, is more autonomy, and with that comes more accountability, and a way to say, the county will fund you at this level, maybe plus, whatever investment you bring into the county, a percentage of that up to a cap. And that can incentivize them to do more with recruitment and product development, and have more accountability there. So that's the biggest piece I think about with structuring it like an authority, is having a funding model tied to that autonomy.
I agree with that.
So, what would the board like to proceed from here? I know we're not voting on anything tonight, but, what feedback can we offer to the county manager, the path to continue to follow, if any path?
I mean, I agree with the autonomy and, excuse me, and accountability, but it's just seemed like in the beginning, it seemed to be that it would be a little bit more cut and dry, and it's like this big thing now, and there's a lot of moving parts to it. So, of course, a vote had already been made. You're still looking into things, but it just seemed to be a lot more than personally what I thought it would be in making these changes. That's just my comment on that.
I'd like us to think about, as we go through the budget process, what that dedicated funding could look like, to where it's set up that way. I mean, I think somewhat fits the same timeline that you recommended for the Eldridge process.
So we're gonna need some details before we get to the budget session, right? And to meet that timeline you were discussing about the state retirement system.
Right, so in order to have a July 1st effective date, that application would need to be submitted prior to their April 30th. And that is one question I forgot to ask, is what is their deadline for that particular meeting? And the representative I talked to today said it would take quite a bit of time for him to put together the packet, to tailor that to meet our needs. So I asked him to hold off on doing that, but he said I would get a better understanding of the process if he puts the packet together and sends it to me, so that we would understand what would be needed from the county. And it's not a given that it will be approved, but just to submit the application. And sometimes they want to give it a year of actually being up and running before admitting a new entity into membership, to ensure that the financial model is stable and worth the risk.
So when do you feel like you need to have some details back for us to consider and vote on?
Well, I mean, sooner rather than later, if this is a model that you want to move to, and if you have specific questions that you'd like for me to do some additional research into so that you can be better prepared to make that decision, I'll be glad to do that. But we would likely need to bring that back to discussion at the next meeting. I mean, if you're truly wanting to make a move to change the organizational structure, I don't know, Commissioner Wilbur or Vice Chair Wilburn, if you were also stating that maybe through this current budget or through the upcoming budget process, we just look at a way to allocate a budget to the EDC to where they kind of get started with some operational funding, and hold off on shifting the employee resources to the EDC for the time being, and define what that looks like. That's an option. But it's the employee piece which will get a little more complicated as far as the benefits, policies, all of that. So there may be a step in giving the EDC some funding and some additional autonomy that the board would like to define as kind of an intermediate step.
So I would like to have, at our next meeting, what's the deadline to submit the application to have it at the April 30th? And what does that entail?
Do you want the individual she was discussing to go ahead and start working up a plan?
That was their recommendation, right?
So
That would be the
Waste 2 more
best way
weeks.
for us to evaluate it.
I mean, it would give us a better understanding. I just did not want him to invest time in it if the board were not going to further consider moving in that direction. But I can ask for that if that is the case.
All right, so I'm hearing that there's consensus here for the board to move forward with this and, bring up the additional information requested, at our next regular meeting. Is that correct?
Yes.
There's
No.
not consensus?
No,
Okay,
not
so we do it the
consensus.
regular way then. All right, do I have a motion to direct the county manager
to request the packet and bring forward what that would look like and what the timeline would be to get it heard at the April meeting.
Okay, we have a motion. Any further discussion? Having hearing none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, 4-1, Madam Clerk. Thank you. All right, item 10C, Human Services Advisory Committee Bylaws Amendment, Brian Hart.
Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for for adding this item to the agenda this evening. There are just several amendments to the bylaws that we're proposing, primarily pertaining to the committee's membership for the Human Services Advisory Committee. You all had previously adopted these bylaws back in September, and so the bylaws that we are now, or the portions of the bylaws that we're asking to be amended now, pertain to, again, the membership, whereas previously it was approved that a member of law enforcement come from the sheriff's office. We're asking that be broadened to include the Roxborough Police Department, and as opposed to there being two appointments from the general public and one past service recipient, we are also asking that be just broadened to include 3 members of the general public. Additionally, as it pertains to term lengths, you all have been provided with copies of the amendment to the bylaws, and so as it pertains to term length, we are asking that you approve terms of 4 years in length that may be renewed for an additional term, and in order to establish and ensure a uniform staggered term structure, we are asking that you appoint some members or appointees to 2-year terms. And that would be for the purposes of ensuring some degree of continuity as members potentially roll off.
So you're saying initially appoint them for 2?
Some of them,
And then, so they would be up in 2, but after that it would be
there'd be others
a
who would
4-year term?
remain on the committee because they've been appointed to 4-year terms. So currently there are, based upon the previously approved bylaws, there are 7 seats on this advisory committee, and ideally, 3 or 4 of those you'd appoint to 2-year terms, with the remaining serving 4-year terms.
But after that, they would all be 4-year terms. They would just be staggered 4-year terms, is that what you're?
Potentially, yes, yeah.
Do we have a standard for how many years a term is under other boards and committees? Are they?
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it depends on the particular board and whatever statute may require. This board is not statutorily required. So it would depend on what the pleasure of the board, on how they stagger the terms.
For context, and thank you, Michelle, for that explanation. For additional context, the 4-year term length, again, though this is not statutorily required, this board, or this committee rather, the 4 years was pulled and recommended based upon our review of consolidated human services boards, which are typically appointed to 4-year terms based upon statute. So that is where the 4-year number. Now again, the arena of it being human services is obviously relevant, but this is an advisory committee versus a board.
Discussion?
So I guess we're gonna have to take whatever names come up. Half of them will be a 2-year term and half of them will be a 1-year term. That's what you're saying?
4-year term.
4-year term?
4-year term.
The thing is, I will determine who will be 4 and who will be 2.
Flip a coin.
Yeah.
But after that, if they reapply, they'd be for a 4-year term, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll
Okay.
just be staggered that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Do we have a motion to amend the bylaws as presented?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it, the bylaws have been amended. Okay, item 10D. appointments to boards and committees. Madam Clerk, and please keep in mind what we just discussed to reflect how the names should be read on that.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. So during the course of the evening, you just heard Mr. Hart present certain things, and I'll touch base on that board when we get to that board, when I call out their names, and we'll go through those term limits. So the Person County Board of Commissioners did solicit volunteers to fill positions on the following boards, commissions, authorities, and committees through advertisement in the Courier Times dated November 13th, 2025. Also on the Person County Government Facebook page and the Person County Government website, with notice to submit applications by the deadline of noon on December 18th, 2025 to my office. I respectfully request that the board nominate and appoint as deemed appropriate following your review of the submitted applications of interest. And also, as a side note, it is your responsibility as Board of Commissioners. You are encouraged to recruit citizens to fill the current vacancies for those that no applications have been received. All right, and if I may start with the first board, the Agricultural Advisory Board.
Commissioner Worcester, this is your board, right? I mean, I know there's only one name, so it's probably, but. You're the last one. Okay.
Yes. So I move to reappoint Bruce Whitfield.
All right, we have a nomination. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
All right, thank you. The next one was a very competitive board. It is the Airport Commission. That is a 3-year term, one position available for a citizen at large, and also a position available for a licensed pilot. The citizen at large must also have an interest in aviation. So with that, would you like me to break them down into how I receive them as far as the citizen interested in aviation, and then vote on that, and then move to the licensed pilot?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the following applications were received for citizen at large: Zakiah James, Jeffrey Smith, Michael Smith, and Dusty Wall. Mr. Wall requests reappointment. The other 3 request appointment. For that, there is one position available. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I make a motion to reappoint Dusty Wall.
All right, we have a nomination. Any further discussion? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
All right, the next one was for the licensed pilot. We had 2 applications received. Kirk Adams request appointment, and Mr. Stephen Watkins request reappointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I make a motion to reappoint Steve Watkins.
All right, we have a motion to reappoint Steve Watkins. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
The Board of Adjustment is the next one. It is a 3-year term, one position available. Cynthia Lynch requests reappointment. She was the only application received. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I move to reappoint Cynthia Lynch to the Board of Adjustment.
We have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, motion, the appointment's been confirmed, 4-1.
The next one is the Human Services Advisory Committee. So keep in mind what Mr. Hart just presented to you and what the motion entailed for approval. I do need to indicate there has been a withdrawal from a applicant. Mr. John Bird requested appointment, but he notified me on Friday of last week that he would like to withdraw his application, considering he felt in the best interest since he is a candidate for the upcoming election for the Board of Commissioners.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so with that, we do have the positions you just approved. So you have 3 citizen-at-large positions now
Yes, ma'am.
versus 2. So with that taken into consideration, Trico Lee Jeffers request appointment, Sandy Parker request appointment, Kenneth Perry request appointment, Eric Turley request appointment, Gerald Wallace request appointment, and Mia Winstead request appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I will propose that we appoint Trico Lee Jeffers and Sandy Parker for 4-year terms and Kenneth Perry for 2.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
The next is for the specified positions. It would be guardian ad litem, a representative from the Person County Sheriff's Office or the Roxborough Police Department, representative from the Person Veterans Council, and a representative from Person County Health Department. Would you like to lump this motion together, or would you like for me to read them individually for a motion?
In the interest of time, let's do it together.
We need
All
to
right.
split the term, don't we? We need to do 2 for 4 and 2 for 2.
That was the other
That was for the
question.
other.
Are you also going to stagger these terms as well for these specified positions?
Okay, if we don't have to, no, that's good.
So, Jan Brimmer, request appointment as guardian ad litem. Wesley Brown Jr., request appointment from the Person County Sheriff's Office. Teresa Birch, request appointment from the Person Veterans Council. And Tabitha Philpott, request appointment from the Person County Health Department. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Motion to approve all 4. All right, all in favor of my motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The appointments have been confirmed.
Thank you. The next one is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, referred to as JCPC. There are multiple positions for this. So I'll go for the members of the general public. There were 6 positions available for members of the general public and 1 position available for a citizen under the age of 21. The following applications were received from members of the general public. Anita Banks, request appointment. Beverly Cates, request reappointment. Charles Croson, request appointment. Reverend Philip Jackson, request appointment. Letitia Lindsay, request reappointment. Louise Oliver, request reappointment.
Deputy Sheriff? Thank you. Please continue.
Deborah Sierra, request appointment. Mia Winstead, request appointment. So you do have 6 positions available out of what I just indicated and read to you. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I move to appoint Anita Banks, Beverly Cates, Charles Croson, Louise Oliver, Deborah Sierra, and Mia Winstead.
We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
All right, still on the JCPC, so the following applications were received for each of the following. Michelle Carey, request appointment as representative or designee from the Department of Social Services. Marie Chapman, request appointment as Chief Court Counselor. John Hill, request reappointment as a representative from Parks and Recreation. Deputy Sheriff Aaron Lappin, request reappointment as Person County Sheriff Designee. Judge John Hoyt Stoitz III, request reappointment as Chief District Court Judge Designee. And Detective Bryce Warren, request appointment as Chief of Police Designee. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Move to appoint said names
Okay. We have a
to those positions on the JCPC.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The appointments have been confirmed.
The next one is the Opioid Settlement Advisory Committee. There is 1 position available for the following: a business leader representative and a representative from Person Memorial Hospital. The following application was received. Garrison Bowes Perkins, request appointment as a business leader representative, and accompanying with her application was a letter from her employer indicating their encouragement and standing behind her for that position. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Chairman, I make a motion that we approve Garrison Perkins.
All right, we have a motion. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
The next one is the Region K Agent Advisory Council. It's a 3-year term, 2 positions available. The following applications were received. Jennifer Morrow requests reappointment, and Wanda O'Neill requests reappointment. May I please ask the desire of the board? Move for approval.
Motion to approve said names. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
The next one is the Tourism Development Authority, or the TDA. It's a 1-year initial term, 2-year reappointment. 1 position available for a citizen at large to fill an unexpired term that was vacated by Jeremy Buchanan to December 31st, 2027, and 1 position available for a lodging representative. The following applications were received. Amy Adams requests appointment as a citizen at large. Robbie Jones requests appointment as a citizen at large. And Dr. Claudia Berryhill requests reappointment for a lodging representative.
Motion for Robbie Jones for citizen at large and Dr. Claudia Berryhill for lodging representative. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
All right, thank you. And the last one I have is the Workforce Development Board. It's a 1-year initial term, 2-year reappointment. The position available is for a business and industry representative. Reverend Philip Jackson requests appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I move to appoint Reverend Philip Jackson to the Workforce Development Board.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The appointment's been confirmed.
Thank you.
At this time, Chairman's report. I do not have a report at this time. County Manager.
I would like to highlight that this year we will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So we do have a local America 250 North Carolina committee here in Person County that has been actively working to plan events for this commemoration. The first event will be held this Saturday at the Person County Public Library at 11 a.m. And this is in celebration and commemoration of the American Indian heritage within Person County, specifically the Saponi tribe. And there will be a presentation by Kara Stewart, Saponi tribal representative. So I encourage everyone to come out to attend this event and kick off the 250th celebration here in Person County.
That concludes. All right, Vice Chair Wilburn.
On December 22nd, we had a special call meeting that was held at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and after that time was set, the funeral arrangements for Mr. Tom Hill Clayton came out for 1:30 that afternoon, and Mr. Clayton was named in our packet as one of the inaugural members of the EDC, and so I tried to do both, and I went to the visitation part early to try to speak to the family. And when I came out, since I was there early, it wasn't set up when I went in, but when I came out, there was a row on either side by the door of veterans who were there to honor his service as a World War II veteran in the Navy. And I was coming out with the meeting on my mind and not expecting to have them there, and I didn't have the presence of mind to stop and thank each one of them for doing that. So I wanted to acknowledge that now and thank them for that. And also to acknowledge Chief Deputy Massey for doing something similar and doing an individual gun salute at the funeral of Robert Brooks, who was in the Navy and also the Naval Reserve, and had his funeral on the day of the Christmas parade. So the usual group who would have come out to his funeral was otherwise occupied, and so he volunteered to do that. So I want to thank them for that.
Commissioner Thomas.
No report.
Commissioner Royster.
First, I want to say Happy New Year to everyone, and I wish each of you a prosperous year. I do want to clear some things up. I did attend the Homeless Shelter Town Hall meeting on December 30th that was held at Long Memorial. And the purpose, when I talked to the group, of why, the town hall meeting after I received messages and looking at social media, And they pretty much said it was to provide a moment of transparency to report to the community the status of the homeless shelter and affordable housing, the status of the homeless shelter and affordable housing project after the resignation or after the former executive director of Roxborough Housing Authority, Phelps Lewis, left, and he was spearheading the project. So those who left behind kind of picked up the pieces and was trying to move forward with it. But I do want to clear a couple of things up that I've read since that meeting. So it was circulating in the community and on social media that the nonprofit arm of Roxborough Housing Authority, which is Roxborough Community Development Corporation, wanted the county to use tax dollars to fund $185,000 a year to operate the homeless shelter. And they were going to request ARPA funds to do that. It was shared that it will cost $185,000 a year to operate, but they are not asking the county to fund that amount. It was also circulating that that $185,000 is needed now or at least by February to move this project forward. And again, that's misinformation. It's not needed immediately. Meaning January or February for this project to happen. That meeting again was to just meet with the community. They know fundraising efforts will be needed to make this happen. We do know the county did provide $60,000, and I know there may be upcoming meetings and discussions surrounding that. But for the most part, even if this project does not happen, and I'm not speaking that into existence, but as a county, we know we need to do something. I was a social worker here for almost 16 years. We have homeless families, homeless children, homeless individuals. Everyone is not suffering with drug challenges. Everyone does not have mental health issues. People are homeless sometimes because of domestic violence or job loss or things of that nature. So we need to show our neighbors grace who are experiencing challenges and stop putting labels on people who are homeless and feeling like, oh, we're just taking care of people, they need to just go to work. Well, it's not that easy for everybody. So I'm just putting this out there to our residents, show your neighbors some grace, especially if most of us are claiming we're Christians. And then we just need to make note and remember that our county is changing. Person County is growing. Whether we're ready for it or not, it's going to happen. And we just want to make sure we're all paying taxes. And I know my colleague Donald, been on board with him before, he will explain to you about taxes. If you want things, you will have to pay taxes to pay for it. But what I do hope from now on, I don't know if I'm going to do this again or not, is for our residents to be able to have something tangible. They can see where their tax dollars are being used. Everybody, we know and understand some of the things, but some of our residents in this county, and the reason I'm saying this is because of the messages I've received over the holidays. Antoinette, I pay taxes. There's nothing tangible for my family here. We know it's an airport. We don't use the airport. We know this is going on. We know industry is coming. But, and my voice is shaking, y'all. I'm coming here from the hospital. I was in the hospital for 2 days. I'm coming here from the hospital. But the main part is they want something tangible. So as leaders in this community, whether you're county, city, other community leaders, when we are thinking about growth in Person County, yes, we want economic growth. We want that. But our residents also want something tangible that they can say, I can see my tax dollars being put to work. So we need to just think outside of the box for some things when we're making decisions about how we need to move this county forward. And again, Happy New Year to all of you.
Thank you. Commissioner Long.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to piggyback on what Vice Chair Wilburn said about Mr. Tom Hill Clayton. I grew up one street over from where Mr. Tom Hill Clayton lived when I was a child growing up. I was a poor boy, but he made all of us feel important. He was a very successful businessman. He owned a car dealership here in town. He was on the EDC, but he treated everybody the same. So he was a very kind individual. He made us all feel important, and he was a mentor, and we all looked up to him. So we're going to dearly miss him. I'd also like to piggyback on what Commissioner Royster said about the Roxborough Community Redevelopment Corporation. I believe it was Hubert Humphreys that said that the poor you have with you always. That was one of his comments from back in the 60s, I believe. But in looking over this agreement that we had, item number one, the county commissioners appropriated $60,000 only for support of the homeless shelter operation, furnishings, and equipment. And at this time, I don't believe we have a homeless shelter. So no funds of that $60,000 should have been expended. And it sounded like, from what I'm hearing, that that money's been expended. So I would think on item number one, they are in breach of that contract. Item number two, it says the Person County manager is to receive a concise report no later than 8/15/24. And so I have a question, was that report received on 8/15/24? And if it was, I'd like for all of us to have a copy of that. And then it said thereafter we would get a report annually, so we should have had one in 2025. So I'd like to know if that was received, and also if it was, I'd like to have a copy. Item number four talks about certificate of insurance, and I want to know if the county did receive that certificate of insurance back in 2024 and a renewal certificate in 2025, and whether we did get that or not. And then it said we would have a copy of the financial audit, so I'm wondering if the county finance department did audit them in response or in reference to that $60,000 in 2024 and 2025. And if it did, I'd like to see that, because if it didn't, then that's in breach of the contract too. So I have a lot of concerns about the money we've expended, but we don't know where the money went.
I'll report that.
Okay, so we'll have the county manager report back to the board on that
Okay,
to address
thank
your
you.
concerns. All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to amend my motion earlier for the personnel to include the HR director, since she's here this evening also.
Okay. All right, do I have a motion to go in closed session per General Statute 143-318.11 for the purpose to consult with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege with the following individuals to attend: County Manager Catherine Cathy, Clerk to the Board Michelle Solomon, and County Attorney T.C. Morpus Jr., followed by closed session number two for the purpose of personnel to include the County Manager Catherine Cathy, County Attorney T.C. Morpus Jr., and the Human Resources Director for Person County.
So moved.
All right, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. And we're now in closed session. Session, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, all in favor, please vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned.